So in the 12-step movement, there's an acronym that called HALT. It's to remind us to pay attention when we become hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. If you want to see the beast come out of me, don't feed me. I become pretty nasty sometimes when I'm hungry. I always say the blood sugar is dropped and it's really not in my control, but it is. But still, hunger and anger and loneliness and tiredness. I mean, isn't that what this pandemic has done to almost all of us? Unheeded, these natural human conditions can make us vulnerable to behavior that is destructive to both self and others. As ridiculous as it sounds, many of us try not to notice our needs. To admit that I get hungry or angry or lonely or tired, and the list can go on, that's to acknowledge that I'm a vulnerable human being. And I need to lean on a power greater than myself if I'm to make it through. Jesus is driven into full halt mode when the Spirit casts him into the wilderness. Mark does not give us a clear statement about these temptations or tests that Jesus is going through. It might be more accurate for us to think of this time in the wilderness, according to Mark, as a time of great uncertainty and indefiniteness for Jesus. There he may experience the whole pathetic chaos of the human condition, but also the possibilities that might be options for the future. There in the wilderness, Jesus has his eyes open to the human condition and seems to have decided how he can address it. Our raging thirst for power, prestige, and honor, our ravishing hunger for material goods and lives of ease, our desire to go it alone yet never be alone, are many forms of distorted vision, shaded by our sense of privilege or our lack of worth, because society has distorted them. All of us will face such times when the crowded life must be left behind, when we must peer into the dark well of our own need, our desire for what we do not have, our weariness with what we do have, our lust to do and be and possess far beyond our capacity or even our needs, beyond God's calling for us. Now, recently I've been told that I should go a bit lighter during Lent this year, because we've all been on a Lenten journey for about a year now. Haven't we? This last year has been a time in the wilderness and a time of testing for many of us. We're all a bit weary of it and are tired of masks and social distancing. And I don't know about you, but my hands are dry and bleeding a lot of the time. I've been told to lighten up a bit. So I should not read the following from Andre Nolan. He says, "Our most painful suffering often comes from those who love us and those we love. The relationships between husband and wife, parents and children, brothers and sisters, teachers and students, pastors and parishioners, these are where our deepest wounds occur. Even late in life, yes, even after those who wounded us have long since died or departed, we might still need help to sort out what happened in those relationships. The great temptation is to keep blaming those who were closest to us for our present condition, saying, 'You made me who I am now, and I hate who I am.' The great challenge is to acknowledge our hurts and claim our true selves as being more than the result of what other people do to us. Only when we can claim our God-made selves as the true source of our being will we be free to forgive those who have wounded us." The truth is, people can hurt us. The truth is, we can hurt people. But giving such people and events power over us lets them make us into rigid objects, instead of being a part of our shaping, which does not have a final say upon us. They're a part of our being, but they do not need to finally define us. The final word, the final definition that does shape us comes from a God who says yes to us. That in the waters of our baptism, we are each beloved children of God. I should not tell you that I've been reading that there seems to be many young people out there who still believe in God and Jesus Christ. However, they don't want to be called Christians because of the reputation associated with that name. Nor should I mention what one writer says is a principal reason many people avoid darkening the church door. It's because they've absorbed a distorted message from other churches they've known in the past. This false message goes like this: it is possible to arrive at a set of beliefs and or practices that will ensure you that your struggles will be over. Life will never hurt you. The rug will never again be pulled out from under your feet. The bottom will never drop out. You will never again experience the pain of failure, uncertainty, lostness, or temptation. But they feel as if they've been hoodwinked by this oversimplified message. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. The message people are yearning to hear is not that their struggles will magically disappear if they just have a little more faith. Instead, they seek a faith that provides a context in which their struggles become meaningful and thus hopeful. Think of the biblical heroes of the Bible. These saints did not become heroes by moving from uncertainty to clarity. They moved rather from uncertainty to trust. They moved not from failure to success, but from failure to faithfulness, which may still mean sometimes there is failure. Jesus steps out of the wilderness with faithfulness. He seems to have internalized the voice he heard called him beloved and opens his heart to a life filled with its uncertainty. He walks with power because he fully, completely leans on God. He walks in gentleness because he fully, completely surrenders to God. So I'd like to end today with HALT, but now to let it stand for healing, aligning, lifting up, and treasuring. When we lean into God, we can come out of the wilderness to help bring instruments of healing into this broken world in which we live. We are empowered to see human beings more like broken vessels that need the glue of the Holy Spirit to be made whole again. Bringing the instruments of healing, though, is not the job of most paid professionals. The ones who have brought the most healing to the most people I've ever noticed is on you. You know the brokenness. You know the woundedness. Who better to do ministry? It is a joyful responsibility of the entire community as it acts with kindness and love towards others. Aligning. We can do this because we align ourselves with those frail, vulnerable nature called the human condition. When lives get out of alignment, they wear out unevenly, shorten lifespan, and don't move as they're meant to be moved. When we who follow Jesus know what it's like to be out of alignment, so we seek others in this chaos and connect with them. We don't point fingers at them, but we come alongside of them to help them find ways to live, to balance each other. We don't do this with some arrogant actions as we're saying, see how much better I am than you. Instead, we recognize how messed up we are when we are without Christ and dare to be so bold to believe we may be able to offer a new way of living, a new way of walking, a new balance in life. When the early Christians prayed for those in prison, they showed up at the prison to feed the prisoners so often that there were Roman comedians who made fun of them. When they prayed for the sick, they did not simply ask God for healing. They anointed the sick with oil in a healing ritual. Praying in this tradition demands that we not only talk to God, but also that we align our body and our actions with God's will. And who better to do that than you, the children of God? And then to lift up. My daughter has a new puppy. Oh. It's a smart little thing, but it's a puppy. But if you praise that little dog, she responds to praise. She just wants to please you. To give someone a blessing is the most significant affirmation we can offer. It is more than a word of appreciation. It is more than pointing out someone's talents or good needs. It is more than putting someone in the light. To give a blessing is to affirm, to say yes to a person's belovedness. When we lift up someone above us, it becomes a joy within us and a connection with them. You know, when I was younger, I was a horse. And one of the greatest joys I had in life was when little kids would come running up to me and I would pick them up and then I would literally throw them in the air. And they would scream in joy. Now, some parents were a little shocked, a little worried, but I never dropped one of them. The joy that comes from lifting up a child and seeing that beautiful, smiling, radiant energy and face. Oh. And so it is with us. To lift up the followers of Jesus Christ, to lift others up above us out of pure joy, to see them enjoy life. This is what a community of faith is really designed to be about. And to treasure. Do you know that there is a Hebrew legend of the angels and the divine image? Have you ever heard this one? The rabbis tell it. A group of angels heard that God intended to create human beings in God's own likeness. And they thought human beings unworthy. So they plotted to hide the image. One proposed a mountaintop, but another angel pointed out that human beings climb and would discover it. Another suggested at the bottom of the ocean, but here too there was a flaw in that plan because human beings are naturally curious about the world and would descend and find the image even at the ocean's floor. Finally, the shrewdest angel proposed that the image be hidden within human beings themselves because it is the last place they would be likely to look. And so it was. We must foil such a plan. We must look for the divine image within ourselves and with others. There are mysteries on the mountains and secrets in the ocean, but the greatest treasure is found inside the human heart. And when we treasure people, I believe it makes a difference. Not only in their life, but in our lives. When we treasure those funny little quirks, those weird little actions sometimes, something happens to relationships. So if Lent is about halting, about recognizing our hunger and all the anger and all the stuff that's negative, it's also a time to begin to say and turn it around. And to turn around. And to be filled with a power that goes beyond our power, to lean in on God. And to be held by God. And empowered by God. And sent out by God. How about it?